Out here, every traveler has a story. Rest here a while and let the adventure find you. Tonight, the rain drums soft against the window panes, and the tavern's warm glow calls you in from the mist. The fire burns low, the scent of old wood and sweet pipe smoke curling through the air. Take a breath. Let the hush of your own room become the hush of this weary tavern. Let the low crackle of firelight, the clink of mugs, and the steady cadence of story long in the telling settle into your bones, and keep your D20 close, for tonight you will find yourself not just a listener, but a keeper of these forgotten adventures. And before the morning comes, you may find a new story of your own just beginning. You push open the worn oak door, and a warm wave of light and sound washes over you. The smell of hearth fire, old wood, and spiced cider fills the air. It's late. Most of the tables are empty now, save for a few night owls hunched over their mugs. The barkeep, a stout figure with kind eyes, nods to you. Without a word, he places a simple drink on the counter, a quiet welcome to a traveler like you. You glance around and something pulls at your senses. A figure sits alone at a far table near the fire. A cloaked stranger, old but strong, their eyes cast downward, lost in thought. Let's see if you notice more. Roll a perception check. A 15, more than enough. You catch the glint of a battered silver clasp at their shoulder. A clasp in the shape of a sword and shield crossed. An old symbol of heroism and adventure. There's a weight to them, a feeling almost, as if the air near them hums with old stories waiting to be told. Something stirs within you, curiosity, or perhaps destiny. Either way, your feet move before your mind has decided. You cross the room, drink in hand. The stranger lifts their gaze, sharp, clear, and calm. They offer the faintest smile, and with a small gesture, invite you to sit across from them. Go ahead and roll an insight check to feel the mood of this meeting. 12. You sense no danger, only a deep, quiet patience. The kind of stillness that comes after years on the road, after battles won and friends lost. Not many young ones notice me these days. Fewer still have the spirit to approach. There's a light in you, traveler, a fire just starting to catch. You remind me of, well, perhaps you'd like to hear a tale or two. Some nights, the past feels closer than it should. And if you've a mind to listen, I'll tell you where these scars came from and the songs we sang in places few dared to tread. The old hero leans back in his chair, the fire painting the deep lines of his face in gold and shadow. He cradles a mug between worn hands, turning it slowly as if weighing memories. It was a place called Hollowmere, a village no bigger than a clutch of stones clinging to the mountainside. The mist was thicker than sin up there, and the folks even thicker. But they were good people. They deserved better than what was coming for them. They first thought it was wolves, livestock gone, and children missing. No tracks, no screams, just absence. We arrived to find their temple abandoned, their fields barren, and the old well at the village's heart weeping mist like blood from a wound. We knew something old had its claws deep in the stone there, something sleeping, something that had forgotten its own name. Roll a religion check to see if you can grasp the depth of the evil he speaks of. A 15. You recall fragments of ancient stories, beings bound beneath wells, doorways to darker realms sealed by prayer and blood. Whatever stirred in Hollowmere had slumbered long beyond memory, and now it was waking. We could have fled, left the villagers to their fate, but there are some lines a soul can't cross and remain whole. We fortified the square, drove salt lines into the earth, laid sigils on every threshold we could find. Night fell, and with it, the mist thickened until you could barely see your own hand in front of your face. That's when the howling started. Not wolves, though. Not anymore. They came in droves, things half flesh, half hunger, twisted by whatever poison seeped from that cursed well. If you'd like to coax more from him, to understand how they survived the night, roll a persuasion check. A 17. Your quiet patience and attentive gaze invite him to continue, to unburden the story he carries. We fought till our arms gave out, till we were breathing mist and blood in equal measure. But in the end, it wasn't steel that saved Hollowmere. It was faith. He touches the old, worn pendant at his throat, a symbol too faded to name. We sealed the well anew, sang the rites in voices raw and broken. And as dawn clawed its way over the peaks, the mist finally began to break. We left Hollowmere standing, but not untouched. No one leaves a place like that unchanged. The fire dims a little, casting longer shadows against the old wood of the tavern walls. The hero sits quietly, lost in memory, the echoes of a long-forgotten battle flickering in the spaces between words. Outside, the rain thickens, drumming a steady, timeless beat against the earth, as if the mountain itself remembers. The hero falls quiet, the fire's glow catching the faraway look in his eyes. Around you, the tavern hums on. Low voices, the clink of mugs, the steady heartbeat of rain against the windows. You sit together in easy silence, bound by the weight of his story still lingering on the tongue. Time softens at the edges. Minutes pool, measured only by the slow emptying of your mugs and the shifting faces around the fire. When the old man finally speaks again, his voice is softer but no less sharp. There was another place, a place even the gods seemed to abandon. After Hollowmere, we rode east. The trouble in the marshes had been whispered on every road. Farmers missing, trade routes swallowed whole, stars vanishing overhead. He leans closer, voice thickening. The Marsh of Silent Stars, they called it. We thought ourselves ready, swords sharpened, spells woven tight. He shakes his head slowly. But nothing prepares you for the way the mist settles there, heavy as a wet cloth, tasting of iron and old, bitter tears. The stars, real stars, they blinked out overhead the deeper we rode, one by one, until the sky itself seemed to fade. Roll a nature check to see if you recognize what could cause such a phenomenon. A 12. You know enough to be uneasy. Places where the natural world recoils, where even the sky withdraws, often mean a tear between realms, a wound left untended too long. Magic older than names leaking into the world of men. The deeper we went, the quieter it got. Even our horses' hooves made no sound on the wet ground. And then the lights began. Small at first, faint blue wisps bobbing between the broken trees like will-o'-the-wisps, but wrong somehow. Hungrier. Soft, distant whispering fades, and beneath the tavern noise, barely there. One by one, men vanished, we'd turn, gone. No sound, no scream, just empty footprints slowly filling with black water. It was only by the old rites, the songs of the verdant warden, that we managed to keep our minds whole enough to flee. Roll an Arcana check to see the true nature of these lights and the magic behind them. A 19. Suddenly, pieces of old tales slide into place. These weren't will-o'-the-wisps at all, but memory eaters. Twisted spirits that feed on thought, pulling lost souls deeper into realms of despair. Their glow, not beckoning, but devouring. We made it out by the skin of our teeth. Some left pieces of themselves behind in that mist. Things they'll never get back. He taps the side of his head lightly. Names, faces, songs their mothers taught them. Not all scars are seen. The rain outside surges, a steady curtain of white noise, wrapping the tavern in a cocoon of warmth and memory. The hero falls silent once more, the memories closing over him like deep water. The fire gutters low, shadows lengthening on the walls as if the very room bends toward the old man's words. Another tale still waits, deeper, darker perhaps, if you have the courage to listen. Another story settles into the wood and stone of the tavern, leaving a silence both heavy and expectant. The old hero cradles his empty mug, gaze drifting somewhere far beyond the walls around you. You sit together, the night stretching longer, softer. Outside, the rain knits itself into endless silver threads. The tavern has thinned, fewer voices now. But as you glance around, you notice something else. Roll a perception check to see what you observe. A 14. You catch it. The way nearby patrons tilt their heads over slightly. Mugs passed halfway to lips. The way a serving girl lingers just a little longer by the hearth, pretending to polish a mug already clean. Without meaning to, the hero's stories have drawn a quiet audience. Frosthold. He exhales slowly, the word itself carrying weight. The northernmost outpost before the world turns to endless ice. We thought ourselves strong, hardened by battles and bone-deep winters. But nothing prepares you for when the storm itself comes for you. It began with the wind, colder than any mortal winter, carrying whispers too faint to hear, yet too loud to ignore. Men forgot their own names in that wind, forgot their homes, their gods, their very blood. Fire hisses, and outside a faint, mournful wind can be heard layered under the rain. Roll a history check to see if you recall legends of Frosthold's Fall. A 9. You strain to recall, but the tales of Frosthold blur with too many half-remembered songs and warnings. Only the sense of great loss remains. A name spoken with sorrow, a gate that never reopened. When the Ice Walkers came, they came not as an army, but as a storm given form. Eyes like shattered mirrors, skin like frozen ash. We stood the walls until our shields froze to our arms. We sang the old war hymns until the words turned brittle in our mouths, and still they came. The fire pops sharply, almost as if punctuating his words. It wasn't strength that saved us. It wasn't even courage. He glances into the depths of his empty mug. It was remembering. Remembering who we were, where we stood, and why we could not fall. We carved our names into the stones of Frosthold that night. Not so others would know we had fought, but so that we would not forget who we were. When the last light failed, the hero's voice fades into the crackle of fire, the whispered hush of rain against stone. All around you, the tavern seems to breathe in time with the story, caught in the gravity of the past too heavy to deny. And somewhere inside you feel it too, the pull of memory, the thin, bright thread that tethers a soul against the dark. The stories have spun a spell across the tavern. Gone are the scattered conversations and clattering mugs. Now, the hearth is surrounded, chairs dragged closer, boots scuffing against worn wood. As patrons lead in, faces half lit by firelight and wonder. From time to time, someone dares to interrupt. A quick question, a burst of laughter, a murmured agreement. But always they fall silent again, letting the old hero's voice pull them back under. Roll a perception check to catch the small signs of emotion in the hero. A 17. You notice it, the way his fingers tighten slightly on the edge of the table when he speaks of certain places, the far-off weight behind his smile, the memory of something or someone too precious to speak of plainly. Not all battles are fought with blade and shield. Some wars are quieter, fought in the small spaces between words left unsaid. He runs a rough hand through his hair, staring into the fire. There was a city once, bright as dawn, laughing with bells and river light. And there, among 1,000 strangers, I found one soul I would have followed into the very jaws of death. We traveled together, laughed beneath strange stars, shared battles, triumphs, foolish dreams. He smiles, but it's thin, a ghost of something once fierce. But love does not always walk the same path as fate. A beat of silence, Even the rain outside seems to hush. Roll an insight check to sense the truth behind his words. A 5. You strain to grasp the full shape of his sorrow, but it's layered too deep, buried beneath years of silence. You catch only glimpses, a soft smile worn like a scar, a longing stitched into every pause. In the end, I stayed to fight a war that could not be won, and they chose another path. He shrugs lightly, as if brushing dust from his shoulders, but his eyes betray the weight. It was not anger that parted us, nor betrayal, just the long, slow drift of two stars bound by gravity, but fated to different skies. I sometimes wonder if they still walk beneath the same stars, if they ever glance skyward and remember the songs we sang when the world was younger. He falls silent, head bowed slightly, as the tavern breathes around him, not with questions or laughter now, but with a solemn, understanding kind of reverence. The old hero's silence speaks louder than any tale, and somehow, in that shared hush, you feel the weight of journeys lost to time, the love that lingers, stubborn and soft, even when the road has long ended. Hours have slipped away unnoticed, folded into the warm hush of firelight and story. The tavern windows are fogged with rain, and the faintest light of false dawn clings to the horizon. Some listeners have nodded off where they sit, heads pillowed on crossed arms or nestled against the worn back of chairs. Yet none leave. None can tear themselves away from the spell the hero has woven. And you remain too, caught between waking and dreaming, heart still sailing with every word. The hero shifts in his seat, rubbing a hand over his weary face, and for a moment you think the night might finally end. But instead, he chuckles low, a sound like gravel and velvet, and leans forward. One last tale, before the sun catches me still spinning old lies in the dark. Have you ever heard of the Dreaming Isles? A few sleepy murmurs around the room, but no one answers properly. Ah, then let me be the first to tell you. Far beyond the northern seas, where the maps end and the stars slip off the page, there floats an archipelago stitched from the stuff of dreams themselves. Islands that vanish with the sunrise, trees that hum lullabies in languages no man has heard, rivers that run backward, and skies where forgotten wishes still hang, flickering like fireflies. Roll an Arcana check to see if you recognize this strange magic. A 12. You've heard fleeting rumors, sailors speaking in hushed half-mocking tones after too many drinks, but nothing concrete. The dreaming isles remain just beyond the reach of certainty, and perhaps that's where they belong. The hero grins, eyes dancing with old mischief. I landed there once, or so I think. It's hard to say with places stitched from dreams. I remember walking through orchards, where every fruit held a different memory. Not my own, mind you, but someone else's forgotten laughter, or first love, or greatest regret. I remember stepping into a pool so still, it reflected not your face, but your soul. Roll an investigation check to piece together the truth hidden among the hero's wander tales. A 15. You sense the heart of it. The dreaming isles may be real, or perhaps they are simply the parts of ourselves we lose to time and tide. Either way, the truth matters less than the feeling it stirs in you, the longing for mystery, for wonder, for something beyond the horizon. I woke on my ship with a pocket full of strange shells, and the lingering taste of something sweeter than any wine on my tongue. When I tried to show the others, the shells crumbled to dust. Only the memory remained. He smiles, not with sorrow this time, but with a deep, private kind of joy. The fire sinks lower. The first pale birds begin to call outside, cautious and few. And you sit still, wrapped in the old hero's dreams, a willing captive to the quiet, wonderful lie that perhaps, just perhaps, there is still magic left in the world for those brave enough to seek it. Morning has broken over the horizon, painting the misty world in hues of pale gold and silver. The rain is past, leaving behind the sweet, damp scent of new beginnings. Inside the tavern, the spell of the night lingers, not broken, but faded into something tender and half-remembered. The other listeners stir, blinking in the light, murmuring their thanks with heavy, dream-laden voices as they drift away, one by one. Yet you remain, and so does he. You've stayed longer than most, friend. He smiles, and for a moment you glimpse the younger man he once was, fierce, full of fire. Long enough to hear the end, and the beginning. He rummages in a worn leather satchel at his side, producing something cradled carefully in both hands. Roll an insight check to grasp the meaning behind this final gift. A 7. You sense its importance. The way the hero handles it, the weight he places in this quiet moment. But the full meaning slips just out of reach, like a dream fading in the light of morning. Take it. It's not much to look at now. A simple token, worn and strange. But its worth isn't in what it seems. He winks. One day, when the road darkens, when the sky grows strange, you'll know what to do with it. He closes your fingers gently around the object. It's small, cool to the touch, and hums faintly against your palm, alive with some secret energy. You slip the token into your pocket, a small mystery to carry with you into the bright, uncertain day. When you look up again, the old hero has risen, pulling his cloak around his shoulders, already halfway to the door. He pauses just once, casting a last, lingering glance over his shoulder. The world still holds its secrets, adventurer. Go, find them. The door creaks open, letting in a wash of fresh morning air, and then he is gone. You sit a moment longer, the weight of stories and the promise of the road heavy in your hands. Outside, the sun climbs higher, gilding the empty street in gold. A new story waits for you, and this time it will be your own.